FIFA handed out $440 million at the 2022 World Cup. Argentina won the whole thing, accumulating $81 million across every round of the tournament. And Lionel Messi, the man who single-handedly dragged that squad to a third World Cup trophy, earned more in a single week at PSG than he likely received as a World Cup winner's bonus. And I am not even exaggerating. That is what the actual numbers say when you follow the money from FIFA's headquarters all the way down to a player's bank account. The biggest financial beneficiary of Messi winning the World Cup was not Messi, and the evidence is hiding in plain sight on 3 different numbers. To understand why that is possible, you need to understand one fundamental rule that governs every World Cup ever played. FIFA does not pay players. Not 1 cent of that $440 million prize pool goes directly to a footballer. Every dollar is paid to the national federation, in Argentina's case, the AFA, the Asociación del Fútbol Argentino. What the federation does with that money after is almost entirely up to them. FIFA issues guidelines. FIFPro, the Global Players Union, pushed hard before Qatar 2022 for a binding rule that at least 30% of prize money go to players. FIFA acknowledged the ask, but enforcement? FIFA's own president Gianni Infantino admitted publicly that direct payments to players are not feasible and that FIFA has to trust each association to pass the money on appropriately. So the flow looks like this. FIFA sends the money to the federation. The federation decides on bonuses. The player receives a contractual payment, then income tax, then agent fees. By the time you reach the player's net bank transfer, that $81 million Argentina earned from Qatar 2022 has been through 4 separate reduction stages. Most fans assume the World Cup is a massive financial windfall for the players involved. The balance sheet says something far more complicated. Let's build up Argentina's total prize money first, because the headline number of $42 million only tells half the story. Argentina earned $9 million just for qualifying and surviving the group stage. They earned $13 million more for reaching the round of 16, another $17 million for the quarter-final, and the $42 million winner's prize sits on top of all of that. Total cumulative prize earnings, $81 million, the largest sum ever collected by a World Cup winning nation at that point in history. That $81 million went to the AFA, all of it, in one transfer from FIFA's accounts to the Argentine Football Association. Now, what percentage did the players receive? The AFA has not published an official detailed breakdown, but based on the precedents available, we can build a credible estimate. France paid their players approximately $586,000 each for reaching the final. FIFPro's formal ask was 30% of the total prize money distributed to players. If the AFA applied that 30% model to Argentina's $42 million winner's prize and split it evenly across a 26-man squad, each player would receive approximately $485,000 gross. That is the generous end of the estimate. Some reporting at the time suggested the figure per player was closer to £370,000, which was roughly $460,000. And Messi being the GOAT he is, his story gets even more interesting. During the 2022 World Cup, Messi was under contract at Paris Saint-Germain, where he had been since 2021. That is critical from a tax perspective, because France has one of the most aggressive income tax regimes for high earners in Europe. In France, the top marginal income tax rate sits at 45%. Add the social contributions that apply to salaried employees, and the effective deduction rate on a large bonus payment for a French resident footballer can reach 55 to 57%. On a $485,000 gross bonus, Messi's net take-home after French income tax would have been in the region of $210,000 to $220,000. As an accountant, the entry that stops me every time is the comparison right next to it on the same ledger. Messi's reported PSG net salary during the 2022-23 season was approximately $41 million per year, or roughly $788,000 per week, net of basic tax structures. His estimated total annual earnings, including image rights and endorsements, were approximately $120 to $128 million for that same season, according to Forbes. In the week of the World Cup final alone, just 7 days, Messi earned more from his PSG contract than the entire net bonus from winning humanity's most watched sporting event. But there is something very interesting that is often not included in this conversation. You see, FIFA has a club benefits program, a formal mechanism through which FIFA compensates clubs for releasing players to the World Cup. For Qatar 2022, FIFA distributed a total of $209.1 million to clubs worldwide through this program. Each club received a daily rate for every player they released to a national squad for the duration of the tournament preparation and competition window. PSG released Messi, Mbappe and Neymar to 3 different national teams for Qatar 2022. On the standard daily rate structure, PSG would have received hundreds of thousands of dollars directly from FIFA for each player released, money that went straight to the club's accounts, not the players. Think about what that means from an accounting perspective. FIFA compensated PSG for not having access to Messi for 6 weeks. The payment went to PSG. Messi, meanwhile, was receiving his regular weekly wage from PSG the entire time because his contract continued to run. The club was being paid by FIFA to cover a player whose contract they were already obligated to pay. A clean, structured financial double benefit for the institution, and zero extra income for the player who was actually performing in Qatar. What do you think about this? Let me know in the comment section below. One more deduction before we reach the final number. Messi's longtime representative is his father, Jorge Messi, who is also his agent. Standard agency agreements at elite level sit between 5% and 10% of gross earnings on any payment. On a $485,000 gross World Cup bonus, a 5% agency fee amounts to $24,250. That comes off the net. After French tax and agent fees, Messi's estimated World Cup winner's bonus in practical take-home terms was somewhere in the region of $185,000 to $200,000. To put that in a single sentence, the greatest footballer of his generation, in the greatest performance of his career, over 28 days of tournament football, took home from FIFA's prize structure approximately what a mid-level Premier League squad player earns in 3 weeks of regular wages. Here is what everyone gets wrong about the financial value of the World Cup for a player like Messi, and this is the thing the prize money number completely obscures. The real money from winning the World Cup was never in FIFA's prize pool. It was in what winning did to Messi's commercial valuation across his entire career portfolio. Adidas, who hold Messi's personal sponsorship deal, watched Argentina's World Cup winning kit become one of the best-selling football shirts in recorded history in the days following the final. Adidas reported surging demand across their entire football line in the months that followed. That commercial windfall went to Adidas. A portion, through performance clauses in his sponsorship contract, flowed back to Messi. But the size of those clauses makes insignificant anything FIFA distributed. More importantly, Messi's move to Inter Miami in 2023 and the commercial deal structure underpinning it, which reportedly included revenue-sharing arrangements with Apple TV+, Adidas and MLS itself, was only possible because Messi was now a World Cup winner. The entire North American commercial opportunity opened up because of Qatar. The Inter Miami deal has been estimated to be worth upwards of $50 million a year when all commercial components are included. That is Messi's real World Cup dividend, not the $485,000 from the AFA, but the commercial leverage that being world champion gave him to negotiate an entirely new financial ecosystem in America. As an accountant, what this tells us fans is that for a player of Messi's stature, FIFA's prize money is not the income event. It is the trigger for future income events. The trophy itself is the asset. The prize money is almost irrelevant noise. And here is the last thing nobody talks about: the AFA's own financial management. A recent investigation by Play the Game revealed that sponsorship and broadcasting earnings worth more than $250 million may never have properly reached the Argentine Football Association's official accounts following their World Cup campaign. If that is accurate, it raises a serious governance question. In a system where FIFA pays the federation and trusts the federation to pay the players, what happens when the federation's own financial reporting is under scrutiny? FIFA distributed $440 million across Qatar 2022. Every dollar of it went to federations, not footballers. The players who actually performed, who trained for years, who played through injury and pressure in the most watched tournament on earth, received contractual bonuses that, in Messi's case, amounted to less than 2 weeks of his club salary after tax. That is the architecture of football finance that nobody fully explains. If you found Messi's World Cup financial breakdown story interesting, you will absolutely be fascinated by this next video, where I break down how much footballers actually earn from the Champions League. Click it and I'll see you there. Cheers.